Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the XForceGlobal channel, back with another Bitcoin update. For those that are new to the channel, welcome. I am an Elliott Wave analyst that uses the Elliott Wave Theory to analyze and forecast market trends. I know you guys love these Bitcoin videos, so just a quick reminder, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel, keep those notifications on, and also please make sure to like the video, as that sincerely does help the channel not only grow, but help me to continue pump out these videos as much as I can on the daily. The more interest we get, the more time I devote myself to these Bitcoin updates. So thank you very much. Now, without further ado, let's get straight into the analysis. Currently, it's going pretty nicely and accordingly to the plan, with nothing too major to report, but it's played out quite nicely in our favor, not only on the larger time frames, as we can see here. We were expecting this whole move up, and on the local bottom that we were trying to call based on this divergence also played out very nicely. But we are also doing quite well on the micro time frames as well. We were expecting some kind of wave 3-4 pullback of the primary degree to play out when zoomed in, and it seems like we have a pretty good contender for a possible bottom here based on the current data given before a larger possible correction may be in play. Now, let's do a quick recap of where we are sitting. We discussed the whole narrative in our members only group for a potential wave 3-4 pullback, and in our previous videos as well. We were expecting not only the move to the upside, but we made sure to reduce the probabilities as much as we could. So as you can see, play by play, I gave my overall analysis as we continue to get more data, and I've tried to give in more detailed wave counts as we got more data. So we were expecting some kind of wave 3-4 pullback on the primary degree, and eventually it resolved itself as a possible ABC. We were expecting some kind of ABC or WXY. We really didn't know, because with the data given, you don't know if it's going to be an ABC or a complex correction, and the price action has played out for the most likely part as a possible ABC with the current data given. So again, if you're interested in more timely updates in between these videos, please do not hesitate to reach out for the membership via the link in the description below. Now, zooming right back into the current range, how can this play out? Let's go into the 1 hour time frame. As you can see, we do have a possible ABC completion here, and that ABC completion is going to be very crucial for this possible wave 3-4 of the pullback. Now, most important thing about this is that there is a possible diagonal going into a wave A here, and then we have a relatively short wave B, and then also now we have this possible wave C as a resolution to give the overall 3-wave structure being completed. Remember, wave C's are comprised of 5 waves, and it's pretty distinct that we do have 5 waves down, and this never will ever play out perfectly looking at the internal structures of any time frame. So that's very important to also keep in mind. One thing that I learned personally coming straight out of the Elliott Wave International is, as an analyst, is that you never want to focus too much on the micro time frames. In fact, the line chart is also something that they also advocate to use. What's important here is that we did hit some kind of equality between waves A and the partner wave C. That's usually the most important thing to look for when you're trying to find the first step of any completed trend, whether you are in an impulse. Arguably a bit more difficult when trying to achieve it in the impulse when you're looking for equality based on Fibonacci. But within the corrective waves, having equality, also known as the 1-to-1 ratio of waves A and C, you will typically have the first reaction of a bounce or rejection, depending on what trend you are in. But overall, we also did have a pretty nicely respected channel, as we also previously discussed. We didn't necessarily have an undershoot of the actual channel, but we have a pretty respectable upper and lower boundary to possibly project our 5th wave at the upper boundary of the channel. So what's most important about this is that now that we have our ABC, we are now either looking for the trend continuation, that we're looking for 5 waves up to complete this larger primary wave 5 to go into our finally our first wave 1, and then a possible multi-week pullback for this wave 2 before we start looking for a wave 3 extension to the upside that should help us give a boost in volume on the daily time frames, and that'll help us complete our larger trend, as I've mentioned, that we're looking for a possible wave 5 of the primary degree of the larger trend, and then we could be looking for possible targets of around $100,000 to $110,000, just depending on what happens. We really won't won't know until that actually happens, but that is our overall expectation. So that is currently how we're seeing it, where we have a possible bottoming here. We re-enter that channel. So if we do get that continuation, I do expect some kind of micro time frame of the smallest degree to get a 1-2 pullback. We're going to be looking for 5 waves up. Again, it's not something that we should be focusing on too much. That's really not our focus here. We're trying to focus on how we're going to be completing the overall trend as a 5-wave move up and then getting that larger 1-2 pullback. But the most important thing that I did mention in my previous videos is that we are really trying to extend this whole impulsive move up as much as we can. More importantly, the possible 70K level, the $70,000 level is going to be the most crucial level that we want to be breaking before we get a possible pullback. The higher we do go up, the better it is for giving this wave 2 pullback a little bit of more leeway so that it doesn't start to go into bearish territories, because I do expect that it will reverse in probability if we start to reverse now as a possible wave 1-2, which is a possibility here. So if we look at this, we can have the possibility of this being a completed trend, meaning that instead of having this as a nested structure of a possible wave 3, 4 still in play, this whole move can technically be completed as a 5-wave move up now. So depending on how you count it, this 5-wave move up can now go into that wave 1-2. Now, as I've said, we could have that 1-2 pullback a little bit later, which would be the more ideal case for the bullish scenario, or we could still be working in that 1-2 with that completed trend where the correction has started now, that we possibly will correct a little bit deeper into that possible Fibonacci zone of that 618, which is the golden zone, which is very important, around 60K. So 60K now is going to be very crucial for the bulls to secure. Now, why do we have that possibility of a 1-2 being created here? Because we have the hybrid possibility of working in an overlapping structure of either an ABC that's now completed on the shorter time frame. So we have the minimum expectation of the ABC being completed of a different degree, or we may be working in a larger 1-2 where this ABC can now start to be turning into a more complex structure, depending on if this impulsive structure starts to turn into a 3-wave move. So what that means is within a WXY, you're looking for multiple zigzags, which means that this double zigzag, which is also known as the double zigzag, is that you're going to be looking for another 3-wave structure, corrective structure for this wave X, before we get another ABC pullback to the downside. That will be our larger 1-2 pullback. And when we get that 1-2 pullback, that is when it will start to get more interesting, because it can start to turn into something else of a larger degree, but we really don't want to be discussing that because we're still trying to focus on the bullish narrative. Now, the important thing about this is, the reason why I still think that this is a little bit of a lower probability with the current data given is that this is starting to look impulsive, so that might turn into a possible move to the upside for a continuation before we get that larger pullback of a 1-2. But if this does start to pull back now and then also redo another move to the upside in another equality of a possible wave X, then that's going to be highly more likely as a corrective wave X before we start to move down one more time for another possible ABC. Now remember, WXYs are comprised of only simple zigzags for waves W and wave Y. Wave X's can turn into any corrective scenario. So what that means is that this can turn into a flat, this can turn into a triangle, can turn into a normal zigzag, can also turn into another multiple zigzag for this wave X. We'll just have to see. But another important thing is that we are reaching that 618 Fibonacci where wave X is going to be potentially rejected. This will be the most important factor for whether this is the continuation or not. But again, we did hit that 618 Fibonacci level, so that is something to keep in mind for this possible X wave to be in place still. So we don't know exactly where we're at. We're kind of in a limbo for this transitional possible wave here for this wave X, but for the most part, this ABC being completed, we did get that first bounce, which is the most important thing, but that is going to be the crucial factor for how this is going to be playing out. Now, if we pull up a little bit of more, try to pull out more data, we can use simple moving averages as our kind of indication for having a little bit more evidence. Now on the hourly chart, nothing too much to report in terms of the moving averages. The moving average, we did get a slight undershoot on the moving average of the 20 moving average here, as you can see on the 4-hour chart. So there is some significant support being played here. So I do expect this possibly becoming the support before we start moving up for that fifth wave, and then we come back down for wave 2 to retest a larger, more important 200 moving average on the daily as well. So that is a very important factor. I would say the RSI is going to be an important factor, but we don't have too much evidence right now. On the 4-hour chart, we do have some kind of divergence being played out, but that's not really translating into the larger degree wave 3, 4. So if we do get a pull up for this wave 5, that is when I will expect a larger wave 3, 4 degree to be also playing out. But then even that, this RSI doesn't have any peak validation for a wave 3. So that's why this also has the hybrid possibility of this wave 3, 5 being played out and completed of the trend, because when you have a peak RSI, that is usually typical of a wave 3, and we do have that wave 3 on the RSI, and that divergence that's being played out for wave 5 has been kind of played out. So it's going to be a little bit important here. Maybe hidden divergences can give us a little bit of an idea if the continuation of a trend is going to be happening or not, but right now we don't have enough information. So right now I would give this current weight for this possible wave 5 to be in play around of a 70 to 80% chance of playing out, and that is pretty high. So I do expect this to play out for the time being. If not, I'd still give this around a 40 to 50% chance to playing out, and even that being played out, we do still expect some kind of major support to be happening around 59 to the 60k regions. Possible undershoot, possible overshoot, just depends on how the markets play out. But as a 1-2 play, we are still expecting a larger move to the upside eventually. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully that was helpful. Remember, again, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel and like the video if you haven't already. That does help the channel grow and also help me pump out these videos as much as I can. Again, if you haven't joined the Discord membership, please don't hesitate to contact me via the link in the description below. If you are not following me on social media as well, on X at XForceGlobal, please do give me a follow there and say hi. I also do a lot of in-between updates within these videos, so I do a lot of free content for you guys, ladies and gentlemen. So please, please, please support me as much as you can. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.